What is happening, everybody? So, I've hit the halfway mark with the exhaust swap on the Challenger. Those stock catalytic converters are now sitting on the floor of my garage, and I kind of wanted to make a correction to something that I had said in a previous video. I had said that the 2 3/4 inch exhaust actually necked down to around 2.5 inches as it slips into that X pipe. I was actually wrong about that. I misread the tape measure that I was using, so it is actually still 2 3/4 inch. So that was on me. I wanted to kind of correct that. Now, the cats are on the floor, still waiting for the test pipes to show up, and I want to also give you guys a little bit more, tech stuff as I was kind of sniffing around this thing and waiting on my pipes to show up. I got nothing better to do, right? So here's some text on those headers that you got sitting on your car if you've got a 392. Basically what you're working with, and I went and actually went in there and measured it. You've got a 1 3/4 inch shorty header. Some guys will call them a mid-length. I've called them mid-lengths before, basically because the design of them is more like a mid-length and the pipe length is more like a mid-length, but it doesn't actually drop down as far as a true mid-length header if you were to imagine a mid-length header. So at any rate, you've got 1 3/4 inch primaries, and you've got a 5-inch diameter biscuit basically for the catalytic converter. It's a 400 cell per square inch catalytic converter. What does all that translate to? Well, you've got basically about 375 CFM per side, about 750 CFM total flow through the catalytic converters. It flows basically about as much as a stock air filter does. But you have to remember that this is not just normal atmospheric air. This is air coming out of your exhaust with a much higher mass, or rather a much higher volume for the mass that it's expelling. So yeah, removing the catalytic converters, you may pick up a little bit of power. Again, the main reason why I'm doing this is I wanted to see how much power these catalytic converters actually take from the car, and also to kind of give you guys a comparison between your stock headers and running no cats as opposed to running long tubes and no cats. Because let's face it, most of you guys that are buying the long tubes are running with no cats, and if you fooled yourself into thinking that those metal substrate catalytic converters are doing you much good or doing Mother Nature any good, they don't. Those things, they're really not catalytic converters. I mean, they are, but they're not. Anyway, enough of that. Just want to get you guys a little bit of data on that and make one correction to what I had said. I'm probably going to be getting the car to the dyno. We're trying to work something in somewhere around 2 weeks from now. So, hopefully by the beginning of the month, this thing will have already been on the dyno, and it hopefully will have already been to the track by then too. Get you guys some track numbers, get you guys some dyno numbers, and let you know what this thing drops. So far, its best has been 428 rear wheel horsepower on an eddy current dyno, but it averaged about 425 horsepower to the rear wheels on that same eddy current dyno, using a Mustang dyno, by the way. Now, I'm not really expecting too much. It might pick up, I don't know, 10 horsepower to the rear wheels, maybe 12 foot-pounds of torque. Don't really know yet, but I can tell you that the system won't be as good as a set of long tubes, but I have a feeling that it's going to bridge the gap fairly well, and it probably will bridge the gap in terms of, value per dollar and value per, headache as far as installing it if you're doing all this stuff yourself like I am. I think it's going to bridge that gap fairly nicely and basically be able to get so close to those long tubes that it probably wouldn't make much of a difference if I were to have gone that other route. But we don't know unless we test it, and that's why I'm doing this stuff. And I'm also trying to get past some of the bro science that always comes with, modding cars and, car hobby marketing guys that try to tell you something's going to get you somewhere when it really doesn't, or they'll tell you it's a significant gain when there's really no gain to be found. That's what I'm trying to get past as well. So this might help you if you're on the fence about getting long tube headers and you're not going to run cats. This will be a viable option. Once I get those parts in, I'll be able to give you a better overview about how I'm going to go about going forward with the installation. show you some things that I do to make installation go a little bit easier. Probably show you some deburring of some pipes, because that's usually a first thing that you've got to do. And I may go in and clean up some, some of the welds on the headers on the inside as well. So I'll show you that as I'm going along with it. So this is just an update, letting you know where it sits right now. Post up your comments. Let me know what you think. Adios.